Okay, so it appears that we have the social media police doorstepping somebody for social media posts. This appears to be in relation to a child and visiting them at their own home, both of which aggravate the situation from my perspective. And I would be very interested for the lady who filmed this video to contact me, because I'd be very interested to see what the police have to say about this. Obviously pro bono, so if anyone watching this knows who they are, ping them a message, get them to contact me, my details are below. And for that matter, I'd like to spend a lot more of my time doing pro bono work on cases like these. So if you do me the favor of subscribing to my channels here, it's free, there's a big subscribe button below, I'll link my other channels below as well, and I'd like to spend my time doing this because these are absolutely ridiculous. But I will also do a couple of caveats to this video because I know lots of you have asked me about this by email, on X posts and so on. The caveats are these. Firstly, this appears to be a real video, not AI generated, so I reserve the position to change that if that turns out to be AI generated, but I don't think it is. Secondly, there appear to be bits that are clipped out of this video, so it doesn't necessarily give 100% of the facts here, so I'm going on what I see, and generally as the law applies here. And finally, this is not intended to be legal advice either to the people in this video or anyone in a similar situation, because if I'm not sitting down with you and I have all of the facts and I ask you questions and so on, then I can't give you legal advice. That should be clear by now over 2,500 videos, but I say it nonetheless. With that in mind, let's take a look at this video. I will be stopping it partway along the way because there are things that I don't agree with, obviously. But first of all, let's take a look at it and we'll tear it apart.
Okay, what was it?
Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't.
Pausing straight away. Officer says, "I'm sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I will exhibit that for you." So let's break that down. First of all, she says, "I don't like the camera." Well, tough. You can film the police, especially if you're in your own home. There is absolutely no reason you cannot film this interaction, not least of which is a contemporaneous record of what happened, what was said, and exactly how it unfolded. Which is also why I made the caveat, because there are bits that are snipped out. There might be privacy concerns there, or there might be bits that they don't want us to see. So that's why I make the caveat. We don't see the bits that are snipped out, or appear to be snipped out. But filming it is generally not a problem. Unless you're outside and you're filming some event or whatever and it's going to cause some issue of privacy, and that's a completely different story. This is not the case. If the person's in their own home, they are perfectly entitled to film. Secondly, the officer says, "You can have my body cam, I can exhibit that for you." Well, first of all, you are entitled to a copy of that video by making a subject access request, because you have the right to access any data that captures you. And if the officer films you with their body-worn camera, you can absolutely file a subject access request and obtain a copy of that video. There are no third parties likely to be in this video, so there's no likely to have any privacy concerns. So, but exhibit it, the officer's mixing her words here. Exhibit it to what? There is no court case yet so far as we're understanding it. So that would just be a simple request for the video and they should hand it over. So wrong on the first count for not liking the filming, and wrong on the second count in that it's not an exhibit to anything. You're entitled to a copy of the body-worn footage. Let's watch on.
Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house and I am telling you why I'm doing it. So I just need to know why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened in May and you're completely fine. The only thing is we need to seize the phone at this current moment.
Okay.
So you can see there's little bits that appear to be snipped out. I couldn't find the original full version video, if there is one. I can just find lots and lots of examples of this one. All I can determine from that is that something about the child viewing a social media post and the officers wanted to seize the phone. So dealing with those in turn, unless the post is something to do with terrorism and downloading materials for terrorism, which might be a terrorism offence, which would be an indictable offence, and then they could force entry to the property for the purposes of arrest, and they'd have a general power to seize something. But I don't think we're quite there with that. But let's watch on regardless. I'll come to the law in just a minute.
Yeah.
The phone needs to get seized from us, otherwise we will escalate this further.
So, but with a voluntary interview.
So have you seized anyone else? Is she the only child you're picking on?
Voluntary interview, you'd be able to come.
Have you spoken to anyone else? No, we'll come to the station now.
Do you mind letting her finish her sentence before?
Yeah.
It does have to get further escalation, unfortunately.
That's fine. We'll come to the station now.
The phone is seized right now.
So you can see from the bits that are snipped out there, it's not really clear what's being said here. They are saying something, the officers are saying something about a voluntary interview, but then it sort of gets snipped out. And the lady says, we will come to the station. And they seem to say, no, you don't understand. So it's hard to say. But I think broadly, it seems like the officers don't understand, because if they're inviting them for a voluntary interview, then fine, arrange the voluntary interview. And then all of it would need to be a PACE compliant interview, meaning you've got the right to free legal advice. You've got the right to examine the PACE codes and so on, all of these sort of things. So it would have to be a fully PACE compliant interview, even if it's voluntary. But it appears that they are leveraging the threat of an interview and escalation to seize the phone, which it appears that there's no real power to do. But I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Now, you'll have probably realized from the news just recently that there's an alarming increase in the number of people that are looking to find or even steal private information or online activity about another person with malicious or nefarious intent. They want to use this against them. There's also an increase in the number of scam and hack attempts across the board on a number of different devices, with software being updated virtually every week. That is why I can wholeheartedly recommend to you NordVPN, which can help not only to keep you anonymous, but also to protect your devices from hack and scam attempts when you use them online. And NordVPN will protect all your devices by scanning for malicious websites, malicious downloads, all whilst providing you an ultra-fast connection with a dedicated anonymous IP address, and also scan the internet for any data breaches that you might need to be aware of. And as they are a partner to my channels here, I can get you a great discount, which is 4 months extra free off the service they provide with a 30-day money-back guarantee using the code BBB on screen and in the description below. Click the link, download and install it, and it will give you that peace of mind, keeping you that little bit safe in today's dangerous online world.
We're not able to basically get the phone. We'd have to escalate this further, which means your daughter will get arrested.
For what?
You see there? If we don't get the phone, we'll escalate this further and your daughter will get arrested. This sounds to me like it's starting to be an abuse of power, because this should not be used as a threat of any kind. There is either an offence for which they want to arrest and therefore obtain further evidence, and therefore if they did arrest, then it gives rise to a power of seizure and so on, which I'll come back to in a minute. But it appears that it's an escalation of language designed to threaten this lady into compliance, which I think she does in the end, to give up the phone, which is all a bit strange. If there is an offence for which they would be arresting somebody, then that's really what they should be here for. But let's watch the rest of it regardless.
You in the social media post? Is that
I need to go with that in order to...
No, absolutely not.
What should we do to prevent destruction of evidence?
I'm sorry.
Lisa,
that's fine. I would like you to leave now. I'd like you to leave.
So it appears that somehow they've forced their way in without a warrant, which I'll come back to. It appears that everyone's upset about it. It appears that they've managed to seize the phone, and also their body-worn cameras are still illuminated, meaning they're still filming. I, for one, as guidance to anybody, this can be guidance to anyone that's watching it, I would absolutely 100% want to obtain the body-worn footage for both of these officers, not least of which to prove from both of their perspective everything that was said, not just relying on your own personal filming of it.
Okay, I have nothing more to say to you. A social media post. I've got nothing more to say. I'd like you to leave. You've harassed this child enough. I'd like you to leave.
Lisa, that's no worries.
Okay, so that's all we have. So you can see why I say there's a little bit of missing context along the way. We don't know the bits that were said in the middle, whether they were of any relevance or whether they're just bits of privacy that the filmer of this video doesn't want us to see and hear. Nonetheless, let's deal with these issues in turn. Let's deal with the entry, first of all, because I think that is quite possibly the most severe here. And if it is not upheld as a lawful power, then they've unlawfully entered the premises here. So they can enter a property in various scenarios. They will have the power to do so, these officers. Firstly, the most obvious is if there is a warrant to enter the property, which would be issued by a magistrate, warrant to enter the property for the purposes of a search. There would need to be reasonable grounds for an indictable offence, or that they would find material of substantial value to investigate such an offence, That's usually valid for 3 months. And it's for non-urgent searches that they need to apply for. But on the face of this video, vague social media claims or watching something would usually not meet that threshold. Save, as I say, unless it's something to do with viewing or downloading terrorist materials, which could then make that an indictable offence. There is a general power of entry under Section 17 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. But even then, as you can see here, under Section 17, it is the power of entry for the purposes of arrest. So, subject to various provisions, a constable may enter and search any premises for the purposes of executing a warrant or arresting a person for an indictable offence, or various other things. So without a warrant and without the purposes of arresting somebody for an indictable offence, they have no power to enter the premises, which, if they did, they would have said so, they would have forced their way in. At the moment, it appears to be viewing a social media post, which is, at best, a little bit unclear. So that's Section 17. Section 18 only applies after arrest, so a person who's arrested for an indictable offence, and there's reasonable grounds that they'll find evidence inside. Section 18 provides them with the power of entry for search after arrest, and that is that they'll find evidence that relates to that offence or some other indictable offence which is connected or with similar to that offence. So again, Section 18 only applies after arrest for the purposes of finding something there. Section 32, similarly, search upon arrest. A constable may search an arrested person and, subject to other provisions, also have the power in any such case to search the arrested person, or in the case of an indictable offence, to enter and search any premises in which he was when arrested or immediately before he was arrested for evidence relating to the offence. So again, all relating to an indictable offence. So these powers of entry to search apply either to a warrant or a power of entry to search for evidence on an indictable offence. But then we look at the power to seize the device, which is also in question here. Section 19 of PACE provides a very broad general power of seizure, but there is a caveat. Right from subsection 1, the powers conferred in these subsections below are exercisable by a constable who is lawfully on any premises. Now, it appears from the video, although there's bits snipped out, so I'm not really sure, it appears that the lady reluctantly allowed her into the premises, which means that they may be there with her permission. But if it turned out to be the case that they've abused their power to enter the premises and she felt oppressed by doing so, and therefore she felt under threat of escalation and that was wrong, then it may still be the case that the police were trespassing on that premises. Because if she felt that she didn't voluntarily give them permission to enter the property, they are not lawfully on the premises. If they are not lawfully on the premises, then this power does not apply. So they are not allowed to seize the phone if they are unlawfully on the premises. And as I said, unless they've arrested somebody for an indictable offence, which then gives rise to the powers to enter and the power to search and the power to seize, then they just simply cannot seize the device. So whilst I rely, and I reserve the right to rely on the caveat and change what I say, but on the caveat that I'm just going by what I see here, it appears to me that they've somewhat abused the power to gain access to the premises and then seize the device, which quite arguably they would not be allowed to do, because if they've forced their way on by abuse of power, then they are not lawfully on the premises and therefore they cannot lawfully seize the device. And so in short, based on what I can see in the video, I don't think there was a power of entry, I don't think there's a power of seizure, and I don't think there's any real power to do anything else. If there was a reasonable ground to arrest somebody for a specific offence, they should be doing so. If it's less serious, they should be, as they did, invite for a voluntary interview, but not sort of force entry to the house by threat of escalation and then seize the phone. I think those are both potentially abuse of power and unlawful here. And I would be very interested for the lady who filmed this video to contact me, because I'd be very interested to see what the police have to say about this. Obviously pro bono, because I would want to know what the police have to say. I would want to request copies of their body-worn footage, why they say and justify why they say they had power of entry, power of seizure, and all the rest of it. And I think there's quite likely a valid claim against the police here. So if anyone watching this knows who they are, ping them a message, get them to contact me. My details are below. I think this is outrageous. This is the sort of case that I would want to do pro bono, because this is now getting out of hand. I think on the face of this video, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Keir Starmer says we have free speech, and yet we have police doorstepping to seize a child's phone because on the face of it, they viewed a social media post. If it's far more serious than that, I will stand to be corrected. But as it is, I think it's ridiculous. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.